wouldn't you as a son be like, you know what? I'm going to leave it to the victim. Therefore, my hands are clean. So I know it happened, but unless the victim wants to come forward, I'm not going to put my dad in the fire and burn him because, he did that.
Hello and welcome to the Spaghetti Junction podcast. My name is Bruce.
My name is Gareth.
And we talk about things.
We just don't know where they're going to go. I'm trying to keep my level of excitement down because, as we both know, the beginning of most of the podcast, I'm off like a friggin' jackrabbit.
Yeah.
And you're just like there on the rock watching me bounce around. I think that's how it's been.
I'm getting such a visual.
You're just watching me jump around.
I think in pictures and I'm just seeing it.
Exactly, yeah. So I'm trying.
Like me sitting quietly in this like cross-legged
Boing,
zen
boing, boing,
pose.
boing.
Gareth being a Jack Russell.
Bouncing around you. Shut up! Exactly. Because I always seem to be louder in the beginning.
I'm basically sitting on the rocks contemplating the waves and Gareth's chasing seagulls.
I actually think that's a really good view of actually
analogy
of us. Nice. What's the word of the day? But it's an old word.
Yeah,
It's
our word
nothing
of the day, considering we were talking about gaming again, because Gareth's a gamer.
Thank you.
Is immersive.
Immersive.
Yes.
Word of the day. So there's another Cinderella movie with Camila Cabello. She's not a bad singer. She's she not that you would actually care, but she's she goes out. Here, you want to care? I won't tell you. I just know these random things. She's going out with the guy who wore the dress on Vogue. Harry Styles. No,
yes.
That's Harry Styles. I think she's going out with Harry Styles. I don't think it
How
matters.
scary is that? I care more about Harry Styles wearing a dress on the cover of a magazine than I do about Camila Cabello.
It's not good.
I think I should.
Because one of them is sexy in a dress, and yeah, you take the.
One of them's a guy.
You take. That's exactly right. Yeah, Camila Cabello. So she's basically the next person to become in another Cinderella movie, which has been going on forever. They've had a pile of them going through.
Is she doing a voice acting role in an animated version?
It's a live action.
Oh, really?
It's a live action.
Okay.
Pretty sure. Anyways, from what I know, it doesn't really matter. That's not part of this. I don't care.
We don't care.
So, and then there's a person called Idina Menzel. She's very good. She has an amazing voice. She kind of got into when they did this whole. No, she didn't. She was part of Glee, but she wasn't. Oh, don't get me started on Glee. I enjoyed it.
Okay.
But it's a bit random. But when I watched it, it was fun. It's not good. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyways, so there is the godmother, but now this is called. It's a non-binary fairy godmother.
So you can't call her
A mother.
Is she a fairy birthing person?
It should be, because they call it a godmother.
But you can't say that.
There's God in there, and there's a mother.
So that's very binary
I know.
for a non-binary role.
Exactly.
Wow.
So supposedly, the fairy godmother now is all of a sudden non-binary. I don't understand.
Maybe it's a father identifying as a mother, therefore it's okay to
Call her a mother.
I don't know.
No, I just think it's absolutely. I would hate to raise my child up with Cinderella being with a non-binary god. I mean, how do you explain it to your child? Mom, what is a non-binary? It used to be a fairy godmother.
Are they going to remake all the Godfather movies?
Nice.
But put
non-binaries.
or
No, I think he would actually shoot himself in the head, as the movie started. Screw it.
I have a feeling.
And
I have a feeling the proper mafia would probably have something to say about that.
You're right. It's true.
No.
Actually, makes me think.
How dare you?
How dare you? What language? Where are you from?
Italy mafia.
Oh, it sounded more like how dare you? Oh, okay, fair enough. But it sounded more like a guy making pizza than actually, a gun in his hand trying to shoot somebody. How dare you? I kill you, bastard! Yeah, it wouldn't really scare me if that was. I would probably laugh.
It's almost like
before I died.
It's like one of the Super Mario Brothers saying that instead of
Exactly.
Al Pacino.
Yeah. Come here, I'll kill you. No, see that wouldn't scare me. It makes me think also of one of the podcasts. I find such random stuff.
You do.
So like, I'm done right now with Phil McGraw, and he says, "Fine, we'll talk to you because you got a problem." I said, "Fine, screw you, Phil." So I'm listening to I find just random things, but dude, when you are bored, the main thing that keeps me going and makes my hours go is just listening to random stuff.
Sometimes
and the
you
more
have to.
stuff that it's random that I don't have to think about it. Like I don't even have to think or focus. It's called the Second Date Update. And what happens is,
It sounds like it's right up my alley.
It's a radio show actually.
Okay.
So what happens is, if you went on a date, and then you get ghosted after that, you can then email into the radio station and say, I went on the date, blah blah blah. This happened, and now, I'm being ghosted, and I don't know why, and I really need you guys to help me to find out why.
Oh, that sounds. Oh, I need to go and listen to that.
It's evil, but it's good. So I've listened to so many. No, there are some which you would really like.
Awesome.
So there was one where, and when they are talking to the, to the person who ghosted. Okay.
Do they actually contact?
They phoned them, and the guys are like, "Why are you phoning me?" Blah blah. and then they start to explain why, but the radio show doesn't tell them that the person that they ghosted is listening on the other end.
Oh snap! Okay.
Oh, so why I'm bringing this up is there was this guy, who said, "You know what? I really liked it. We got on so well, but I have a huge past, and I really can't tell someone about it. I really can't do it." He went on and on.
Okay.
And then the woman on the other side is like, "Hey, what do you mean?" And he goes like, "What?" They listen the whole time. He says that his problem is that he was involved in the cartel.
Wow.
And because of that, he's going to get judged by everybody else because he was in the cartel.
Okay.
And he wasn't just, involved. He was involved in the cartel. And so up till that point, without the girl knowing, she has said, "I don't care what is wrong. I don't care. The past is the past." As soon as he said cartel, and when would you like to go on your second date? No. I need to check my calendar. That's when you know. So everybody's fine until they freaking date someone in the damn cartel.
It's very interesting. I would have actually my thoughts along that would have been like that would have made him more attractive.
I know.
Like he's a freaking drug dealer.
He's freaking cartel.
Yeah,
he's not just a drug dealer.
He's like red flags deluxe. Like more red flags than a Chinese communist rally.
There we go.
She'd be like, "Oh, take me now."
Exactly. I mean, so he said that he used to be in there, as in like he's not in it anymore.
Okay, all right.
But she was like, check my diary. So you were dating for anything, but now you hear he's in the cartel.
That's why she wouldn't go out with him again. He used to be in the cartel. He's not in the cartel anymore.
True.
So he's like, no, he's not dangerous anymore.
He's boring. Yeah, you're right.
Boring. Like, yeah.
I mean, I might I mean, there might be one hit opportunity in the date, but she's like, that's boring.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if he went back to just having like a slight little like crystal meth side hustle.
It's actually a good idea.
Just running something on the side. It doesn't have to be his main thing.
Yeah, I like that.
It just makes him a little bit more dangerous.
Yeah, but I would imagine if he was in the cartel itself, how he described it was like he says, "I wasn't in the cartel. I was actually in the cartel," which to me means he popped someone.
Yeah, he was up there.
Oh, he did. And also, can you really leave the cartel? I've never really thought you could. Not that I know about it, but if Netflix is true, then hey, obviously it is.
It's like Hotel California says, you can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave.
It's exactly what it is. So as you say, maybe, but it's the most lame line. Like, no, I said you check my diary. No, check my calendar. If they would date like on that Friday.
Yeah.
So you should know what's happening on Friday. And then the more they pushed her, she went gook and put the phone down. Yeah. So, but I would imagine if you were heard on the radio, there'll be many women who are like, "Hey, cartel man."
Yeah. I mean that's why. I mean, so many guys who are in prison have female fans. These dudes have killed people. They get
Yeah.
yeah. There's actually, if you would allow a second word of the day,
Yes, Bruce, we can have another one.
the term, because this is the kind of stuff that I listen to.
Yeah.
The term is hybristophilia.
It's a philia. It's basically
Yes, exactly.
part of the philia group.
Yeah. And considering what we're going to be talking about on this podcast,
Well, yeah, I guess you're right.
it's another philia. Yeah,
Well,
it's basically the sexual attraction of a woman to a man who is dangerous. And she knows.
but he's a criminal.
Dangerous criminal,
So he
drug
has to
dealer, murderer.
Oh, so
That's the thing.
they're not just bad guys. They're like they've done shit.
I mean, think about Ted Bundy. He was a rock star.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, he had women in his trial just like gooey-eyed
I
at him.
remember.
And
Wasn't
he was a good-looking guy as well.
As murderers go.
Yeah, because most of them are.
Okay.
And he had girls. He had female fans, and that's what it is. You don't find guys on the outside, simping after female prisoners.
No.
But it's definitely the other way around.
That
Very
actually
interesting.
that makes so much sense because
Sounds like a podcast episode. Hybristophilia next on the Spaghetti Junction podcast.
Woo!
Where we talk about things.
And we just don't want to know where they're going to go sometimes. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it actually makes me think of because it didn't really make a lot of sense, but it was a news feed, on a site which I'm on, and they were talking about there was a criminal that there was a guy who had like beaten up or murdered someone ever, and he was young, but he was like really good looking.
Yeah.
And the amount of people who overlooked what he did because of how he looked.
Yeah.
And then they went to somebody else who wasn't good looking and had done the same thing. And he was just like the worst person ever.
Yep. That's why you don't have female guards in male prisons.
Actually, let's bring it back to point. That makes me think there was a female guard who was killed in our local prison here.
Really?
Uh-huh. Sorry, not to... They shouldn't be in there. Let me hear your story, then I'll wrap it.
It's basically because there's too much risk of the female guards getting sexually involved with the male prisoners because of that attraction side of things.
Really?
The danger.
I would have thought it would just be damn dangerous for her, for a woman.
Yeah, that too.
And a bunch of guys who haven't seen a woman for like 6 months.
That too, yes. But there is also that other risk of maybe a female guard helping a male prisoner to escape because of that sort of carnal baseline attraction, all that kind of thing. Yeah, there is that there as well.
So it was in one of our prisons. It wasn't in Sun City. I think it was in Leocop. Anyways, it's a big prison, and the family of this woman warden.
Right.
Had phoned into the into the prison saying, I haven't heard from her for a while. Do you know what's going on? So we don't know. So then they went to the men's section, which the woman is supposed, if they do work there, they're meant to go in with the guy as well. And they found her body covered in blood, stabbed on the floor, and they basically did it. Yeah, and they actually, well, I was going to say, well, how do they know who did it? Well, they were in the middle of a prison, and obviously it was a prisoner who, for whatever sense, he murdered her.
Yo.
It just makes you wonder, though, like, is there much of a repercussion if you kill someone while in prison? Besides there is going to be. Your years would be added on, I guess.
You would literally, I mean, I suppose if you're in there for life, doesn't.
Although life nowadays means like 30 years or something, or 25.
Yeah, but then you would get something tacked on, or another life sentence or something.
But it just shows, though, that not everybody, but the criminality in someone's system. Yeah. Even if they are in prison and they know.
Like, if I get found out, I'm going to.
Yeah, but they still do it. I would imagine that they would. Okay, this is for a whole nother podcast, I'm sure. But I would imagine that they would get some form of rush doing it. It's not just about murdering. Not that we know, obviously, but it's just a question.
I think the rabbit hole surrounding the psychology behind that is that would be interesting.
I actually quite like that idea. Let's write that down and do it.
Put a pin on that one.
Actually, be a very, very interesting topic. Actually,
yeah, it would be very cool. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. We are experiencing some technical difficulties while Gareth plugs in his microphone back in.
Somehow I yanked the microphone cable out. Maybe it was just mad.
So there's even a little spike on the old software here.
All software. You know what I do need before we get into our topic? But I don't have any. It makes me sad.
Oh, no.
I don't have that soul-quenching...
You'll have to think about it really
sweet, loving embrace.
Of?
Pepsi. Not a sponsor. Yet.
Too bad, because I'm really thirsty.
No, I actually couldn't. I went somewhere where I knew that they would have Pepsi.
Oh.
Yeah. But they were closed on a Sunday.
Although I enjoyed my Pepsi last night.
Oh, you had a Pepsi last night?
I did, because I went to another fine establishment, which I don't know if we should mention, because they're also not a sponsor.
Yet.
But maybe I should.
Go.
I went to the almighty Burger King.
Oh.
And I got myself something wicked. And I got a Pepsi with it. So I had my Pepsi fix for the weekend.
Did you do the one where you sit down and you know, and you have those like refills upon refills upon refills?
No, I never do that.
That's the best part of Burger King.
I don't.
That's why I like them.
Well, you can't sit down because they don't. They only have takeaways at the moment.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's one fill up and off you go.
Oh, then you got to go.
Yeah.
That's clever.
But it's good. It keeps me. It keeps me in check because
if you could just have refill after refill.
Yeah, especially of that particular soft drink that's not a sponsor. Yet.
Exactly. I've always thought of having a 2-liter bottle down your leg of your trousers with a pipe and a funnel.
Yes.
And you just like fill it up, and then when you leave, you look pretty dodgy, but you have 2 liters of Pepsi.
I think that would be an indication that you might have a problem. And you probably need to talk to someone about that.
And you might get stopped also for this huge ass left leg. Like, yeah, dude, I will freaking work my calves, pal.
Yeah.
Only my left calves. But it's possible. Yeah. Exactly.
And that was probably one of the most random intros we've ever had.
I know. It actually went from everywhere. I think we should have an episode where we do what we did quite a while ago, where we just start having a conversation and maybe we should do that as our next episode.
That's also true.
It's a possibility.
Yeah.
Because we just went from, I don't know where the hell we went from.
Went from Cinderella to prison to we tend to talk about prison a lot.
I know.
Like all kinds of stuff.
It's weird. I mean, sure.
And considering
our
subject for today's podcast.
As we finally get there after how many minutes, but hey.
I can tell you.
We enjoy it. Yeah, exactly. This has been a while. But that's okay.
Because it's the Spaghetti Junction podcast and we can do whatever the hell we like.
Exactly. And all you 3 or 4 people listening, we thank you.
So we are talking about, unfortunately,
yet another one.
Another church leader.
Another one.
And another one. Another church leader that has fallen from grace because of another church leader who fell from grace. And this is a father and son story, which is pretty damn tragic.
Like you.
That is.
Sorry.
You laughing
this is a father and son. It sounds like a drama feel good movie. This is a story about a father and his son. And the fall from grace, which is another Christian movie. That's all they do with the same actors.
Cheapest. Let's not talk about those.
No, right, don't. So in all seriousness, yes, this is all about Brian Houston, and more specifically, what happened with his dad.
Yeah.
And a youngster.
Well, it's it's Brian Houston who's in the news at the moment.
That's correct.
Basically for failure or to... Well, he did disclose this stuff. But it seemed like stuff was covered up to protect more the reputation of the church, and nothing was done with regards to arrests, church rebuking his father, whose name was Frank Houston.
We can get into that for sure.
Yeah.
So if people don't know what Hillsong Church is, it's commonly known as Hillsong, obviously. And this is from Wikipedia. Wikipedia.
Oh my word.
Okay. Seriousness. This is a serious topic. Pardon. That is my happy side out. Breathe in and let it out.
He wasn't even drinking the not sponsored drink.
Yeah. So they are a charismatic Christian megachurch. Which in itself says, yeah, megachurch means they can fill over 1,000 in one service, and they have about 6 or 7. Crazy. So I
would say more than 1,000.
So
stadium size.
I don't think it's as big as a stadium, but yeah, it is huge.
You're
right. Actually,
you could call it an arena.
You could.
Yeah.
So the church was originally called Hills Christian Life Center, and it was established in 1983. This is after his father. So the original church, which was linked with his father, was not Hillsong Church. It was before.
It wasn't, yeah.
So where it is now, just an understanding of who Brian Houston is. So it was found in 1983 in New South Wales, and his wife Bobby. So we're Brian and Bobby. The church is also known for its worship music with groups such as Hillsong Worship, Hillsong United and Free. Until separating from it in 2018, they were a member of the Australian Christian Churches, otherwise known as the Assemblies of God, the AOG, basically.
Yeah.
Yes.
So basically, some of the back history with regarding Frank Houston.
Yes, please.
It is that in 1970, he sexually abused a young boy.
Yep.
By the name of Brett Sengstock.
Mm-hmm.
It was basically over a week-long period when him and his wife were actually staying with this boy's family.
But they were staying with the family?
Yes.
Oh,
that's
wow.
why.
That's how he got him?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's where it started. And only long after that did Sengstock actually say anything to his mother and actually disclose what had actually happened to him.
Like how long would you think?
He was
like weeks or months.
No, it was years.
So he didn't say anything about it.
He was young. He was about 7 or 8, and he only spoke out about it when he was about 16. Yeah.
Okay.
And it was only in about 1999 that Frank Houston actually made any contact to try and apologize.
When you say in
1999. So many years later.
That's way late.
Yeah. And but unfortunately, Sengstock didn't consider these apologies to be genuine, and then there was money offered.
So he was apologized to by Brian Houston's father.
Yes, but they didn't really feel
1999.
They didn't really feel that.
So he hold on.
Was very
so
genuine.
he told. Sorry, I'm just trying to walk with you on this. So hold on. So he told his parents. As in
he told his mother.
The child told his mother when he was like 16.
He was about 16. And what happened was his mom, very surprisingly, said, "Don't say anything because you're going to send people to hell."
Never.
That's essentially what his...
Sure?
Yeah.
Really?
And so...
That's what the mother said.
And so obviously this ended up with this poor guy just basically repressing all of these things and having to live with this... with what happened to him and not feel secure to actually even speak about it until many years later.
That sounds exactly like Rabbi Zacharias.
Yeah. And
the mother said that.
Yeah, basically you're going to cause people to that's how a lot of people can be so indoctrinated into the church that they want to actually protect the people who know about this, because you can't do that because you'll be complicit in them, being, kicked out of the church, being sent to hell, all that kind of thing.
Which means that the mother had a very unhealthy appreciation of Joel, sorry,
Frank Houston.
Of Frank Houston.
Yeah.
In the sense that this like whole big, it's not exactly, but it has a feel of Brother Zacharias.
Well, it's that
where you are looking up to this person like made to be this amazing character, and you tell your own child, don't report it because
and treated like royalty.
More than royalty, dude.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. More than royalty.
It's a godlike impression that person has.
Yeah. Where people look more to the man than they do to the actual.
And that's how church is for.
That's
when it's all about the pastor.
So in 2000, they Houston offered. Can't believe you can put a price on this. Well, I can't believe that they thought they could put a price on this, but they offered him $10,000 as an apology.
Which, first of all, is very insulting.
And it's probably also possibly to buy silence.
Possibly. If money changes hands,
there are insinuations.
There are insinuating that if you take this money, that we'll leave this.
We're gonna keep this.
We'll leave it alone.
And that is the sad thing, is that unfortunately now Frank Houston passed away. I think it was in 2004, if I'm not mistaken.
Early 2000s.
And he was basically, he was allowed to publicly resign. But he was not arrested. He was not rebuked. He was not investigated. So he got off He's got off very easily. And now,
I think he died before anything major could happen with him.
Well, basically, what happened, according to the information that's out there,
yes,
Brian, his son,
Brian Houston, the one that we are talking about,
stated that he first found out.
Okay.
In October 1999.
Okay.
While his dad was still alive. His dad came to him and confessed and everything.
Oh, his dad told him, okay.
But even then, with that knowledge that Brian had, he didn't go to the authorities. And he talks about, yes, he's been transparent about it, but if you were that transparent,
now the one reason he said why he didn't do it, why he didn't bring it to the police, is that the victim wanted to make it as their choice to do it or not.
Yeah.
And fast forward years to where we are now, and the victim says, no, that's not true. He actually wanted it. The question is how.
I think that's a cop out on Brian Houston's side of things, of like, well, I knew, but surely it's on the victim's responsibility.
That's from what I understand of it. That's what happened. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, really?
Yeah, he basically felt that it was the victim's story, and not his.
That's passing the buck.
Of course it is.
Like, if I know it's your dad, but man alive.
But now it makes me, if you hold your dad, up to like such a high level,
Okay, I get you.
and you find, and you like, like he's like the dad, and a big pastor, and he runs things, and he's like next to God. That's how I don't know, this is how I feel, but I'm trying to maybe get into an understanding of it. And then you find out something about your dad that happened.
Yeah.
That
those levels of loyalty.
This is his dad, and he would know that if he mentions this, his dad's going away.
Yeah.
But wouldn't you? First of all,
and the church, the organization.
I'm just playing literally devil's advocate. Wouldn't you, as a son, be like, you know what? I'm going to leave it to the victim. Therefore, my hands are clean. So I know it happened, but unless the victim wants to come forward, I'm not going to put my dad in the fire and burn him because, he did that.
I get you, and I honestly actually didn't think about it from that point of view.
Yeah. that to me is possible because he's your dad, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like the greatest person of all time.
Yeah. The problem is that now Brian Houston actually committed a criminal offense by not doing that.
That's what the police are saying.
Yeah. So there's a Bruce in his quotes.
You're allowed to. It's fine.
Because I'm allowed to.
Yeah, you're the one here who quotes.
So from a document that Gareth very kindly sent to me, from the case study findings from the Royal Commission into the responses of institutions.
Yep.
Regarding child sex abuse. Despite having knowledge of the crimes, the national executive, basically of the church, allowed Frank to resign publicly with no damage to his reputation or reputation to Hillsong Church. So they were able to basically they swept everything under the rug. And yeah, now Brian Houston is facing criminal charges in New South Wales.
So according to the New South Wales police statement, they said that the detectives of Sydney Hills Police Area Command began investigating this matter in 2019. And then following the investigation, they reviewed the brief of evidence before police served Mr. Houston's lawyers with a notice for his client to attend court. That's going to be in September. Houston, who right now is overseas, he's in America.
Yeah, he's busy doing some preaching in America.
Yeah. So he said that these charges have come as a shock to me, given how transparent I've always been about this matter. Can we talk about how transparent he really has been, or he said?
Yeah, well, that's what I said earlier. It's like, okay, transparency, but the thing is, then there was still nothing done to tarnish the reputation of his father. So there's even after his father's death, there was no like major investigation into whatever, and there still hasn't really been any justice for this poor guy Brett, who was the victim.
From the understanding of him saying that he's been transparent, the church is exactly what you're saying, and like he hasn't hidden it in the sense of like the church. He sent out an email, explaining everything, which was a few years back, I think.
Yeah.
So he has been transparent in the sense of what's happened, but I think the view is that he hasn't been transparent enough, and that's why he's now in the dwang.
I think it basically comes down to the fact that when he found out, he didn't go to the authorities.
That's what it sounds like.
And therefore justice could not take its course like it would be supposed to. And that's why Brett Senstock is feeling very, hard done by the justice system and what happened to him, because he gets no closure.
I wonder why it took another 22 years for this to get to this point.
I don't know.
Maybe I don't know either. So this is now the alleged. Yeah. So sorry. The church, also released a statement. And they basically said, that's what they said, Bruce. Sorry, my page has gone blank. I do apologize. Carry on. Sorry, I lost something.
Cool.
Here.
Well, Gareth finds that. This is the sort of the level of the seriousness of the charges that have been leveled against Brian Houston.
Let's go there.
This is according to the New South Wales Crimes Act of 1900, Section 316, concealing a serious indictable offence. So, 1A, an adult who knows or believes that a serious indictable offence has been committed by another person, and B, who knows or believes that he or she has information that might be of material assistance in securing the apprehension of the offender or the prosecution or conviction of the offender for that offence, and C, who fails without reasonable excuse to bring that information to the attention of the New South Wales Police Force or any or other appropriate authority is guilty of an offence.
There we go.
So it's like, no, you get into trouble for that.
Yes, obviously.
And if found guilty, Brian Houston could be liable for 2, 3, or up to 5 years in prison, depending on how serious it's judged, because it works on levels of seriousness. So it gets a little bit more complicated than that. But basically, there's 3 levels of seriousness. It could be 2, 3, or even 5 years in prison. He could get lucky and get a suspended sentence. There is that option
being pushed. Yeah,
but high profile, got a lot of money. I don't know.
Can I bring in statements from both
Go for it.
Houston and the Turks? The Turks one is reasonably long, if that's okay.
Yeah, go for it.
And then we can bounce off that.
Yeah.
Okay, let me actually mention the one from Brian Houston because this is reasonably short. Okay, here we go. And this was okay. This is from August 2015. Oh, okay, that's not the one that I want to do. Okay, let me give you this statement from Hillsong Church, okay?
Cool.
Which was September the 26th, 2019.
Okay.
Which is when they were basically being looked into a lot more. It happened from 2019.
Right.
So this is basically when it like really was happening. All right, ready to go?
Go for it.
This is what they say. Over the past few days, there has been numerous media reports and comments on social media about our senior pastor, Brian Houston, and references to the Royal Commission into institutional responses to child sexual abuse, at which Pastor Brian gave evidence in 2014. Much of this commentary is factually incorrect and highly defamatory, and we call on the media and others to immediately stop making these spurious claims. We have directed our lawyers to review several articles that have published untrue and defamatory claims that smear Pastor Brian's reputation as a Christian leader. Furthermore, we remind those who seek to spread rumors and baseless information via social media that these comments may also be subject to a defamation action. Brian Houston has made it very clear on multiple occasions during and since the Royal Commission that he's incredibly grieved for the victims, by the way, and there's more than one.
Yes.
And the hurt and pain that the criminal actions of his father, Frank, has caused them. He has never placed blame on any victim, and the actions of his father repulsed him. The Royal Commission did not directly involve Hillsong Church. The abuse by Frank Houston occurred many years before Hillsong Church existed. It is an indisputable fact that Pastor Brian is not a perpetrator of abuse, has never been accused of abuse, and took immediate action to expose and stop a child abuser. At no stage did the Royal Commission ever imply that Brian Houston was involved in any sort of cover-up. Reporting around this is wrong. You want to chat more on this, or can I carry on?
Please carry on.
Okay.
That's quite the statement.
Here are the facts. Reporting this is wrong. Here are the facts that were part of the evidence given at the commission by Pastor Brian and the victim of his father. Here we go. The victim was a 36-year-old adult when this abuse became known and could have taken the matter to police himself at any time. The victim did not want Pastor Brian or others to go to the police. At no time did Pastor Brian attempt to dissuade anyone, including the victim, from going to police. Pastor Brian immediately reported the abuse to each board member of Sydney CLC and also the executive of the AOG, the denomination that issued the ministry credentials for Frank Houston. The perpetrator, Frank Houston, was immediately removed from ministry by Pastor Brian and church leadership and never ministered in the church again, ensuring no child was placed in danger. He is now deceased. The evidence stated that there were many others who knew about this abuse well before Pastor Brian was told. In the 15 years prior to the Royal Commission, since these revelations have come to light, despite Pastor Brian widely sharing this information, even to the entire church, no one had ever advised this historical complaint coming from a... Sorry, let me try it again. Despite... The evidence stated that there were many others who knew about this abuse well before Pastor Brian was told. In the 15 years prior to the Royal Commission, since these revelations came to light, despite Pastor Brian widely sharing this information, even to the entire church, no one had ever advised that this historical complaint coming from a mature 36-year-old adult needed to be reported to the police. Evidence was also tabled at the Royal Commission that under S316 of the Crimes Act, the reasonable excuse provision allows for the non-reporting to the police of a situation where historic victims that are now adults have specifically asked this not to be done, as was in this case. The media continually chooses to overlook this. Almost finished. It is easier to look back many years with hindsight. However, Pastor Brian took decisive and immediate action against his own father at the time, and where many others had failed to do so. Child abuse is abhorrent, but attempting to blame Pastor Brian and tarnish his reputation is not going to advance the cause of any victim. Pastor Brian has ensured that Hillsong Church has a zero tolerance policy for abuses and has best practice child protection policies and procedures in place. Here ends the statement.
Wow.
A lot of finger pointing away.
Yeah. So basically, what does the Bible say about this?
Great question.
And when a leader is faced with this kind of thing and is sort of charged by the authorities, there are a couple of verses in the Bible that are pretty clear about what should actually happen.
Okay.
And this kind of thing didn't happen with Frank Houston.
Yep.
Like I said, he was sort of more allowed to just kind of retire quietly.
Yes, he was.
He did a public retirement, like I'm stepping down, but it wasn't I'm stepping down because I'm a pedophile.
Yes.
Basically.
Agreed.
So just a couple of verses from 1 Timothy. So 1 Timothy verse 5.
Yep.
Chapter 5, sorry, verse 19 to 20.
Okay.
Do not entertain an accusation against an elder unless it is brought by 2 or 3 witnesses. Those who sin are to be rebuked publicly so that others may take warning. So basically, if Brian Houston is found guilty, biblically, he should actually be brought up on stage in front of the congregation and be publicly rebuked, by if he is charged.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And as you say, that didn't happen to Frank Houston.
No.
That's what should have happened.
No, it didn't. That's what should have happened.
If that had been dealt with then, we wouldn't have this problem now.
No, but it was... We can still see it's got swept under the rug to protect the reputation of the church. And
things always, I think mostly always, come back and bite you. The amount of things that, like that happened in the 70s, and then it came out in 99.
Yeah.
20 odd years later, it's out.
Yeah, that's it. And basically, he would need to be removed from office because he fails to meet the criteria required for a church elder. And so 1 Timothy 3 verse 2 says, "Now the overseer," or the elder in this case, "must be above reproach, the husband of one wife, temperate, self-controlled, respectable, hospitable, and able to teach." Okay. Mm-hmm. You're not very respectable if you cover up a crime or don't go to the authorities when you should.
Interesting.
And that's where this is leading us now. So apparently, I think he is. I know you said something about September.
September.
And then he's also appeared. There's a date in October apparently when he's also going to be appearing for.
Sorry, then it might be October actually.
Okay,
then
where he's going to appear and has to answer more questions in that. And then my last one that I had, it just basically said, Brian Houston, He denies the charges. He vehemently professes his innocence.
That's a good word to use.
Because he says he was transparent.
Correct.
But then the question, why wasn't there justice? Why wasn't there justice when his father was still alive? And that's the burning question.
Sometimes that unfortunately happens when someone's done that and they end off, although we don't know what happens afterwards. But
exactly.
He basically says, I'm obviously. So I didn't actually mean to play that in the background. I was looking for something.
Okay.
But in fact, sorry. I actually want to play it. Give me a tick.
I
don't know exactly where my speakers are, so bear with me, people. But I would like to play this. Obviously, you won't see it, but you'll hear it. Hold on, guys. Trying to find my volume. Okay. I don't even know where my speakers are for my laptop. I'm just being honest. I have no idea where my laptop speakers are. I think about here. We'll see now, won't we?
Ryan, Alison from Channel 9. We just wanted to find out, have you got anything to say about the charges?
What's that, sorry?
Have you got anything to say about the charges?
Oh, obviously I'm devastated. Thanks.
Are you planning to return to Australia soon? How did you manage to get a travel exemption to leave the country? Brian Houston appearing rattled, but it was still business as usual.
Come on, let's give a big James River welcome to Brian Houston in the house.
Sunday service in Springfield, Missouri.
How good it is to be at James River Church.
It was his first public appearance since being charged with concealing child sexual abuse carried out by his father in the 1970s. Allegations he strongly denies.
There's challenges in life. It can take its toll. But I want to be filled with zeal. I still want to have a Pentecostal two-step when I'm 112. Amen.
On a mission from God, spreading the word through Middle America, it follows his recent trips to Mexico and Los Angeles. New South Wales Police Minister David Elliott revealing the pastor had left the country during the pandemic previously, upon return requesting a 5-star suite.
Brian and Bobby Houston have based themselves here in the United States for several months now, but it remains unclear exactly when they'll head back to Australia for his day in court.
Bobby was nowhere to be seen on the Missouri leg of their trip, his son Joel by his side at a high-end rooftop bar. In Missouri, Alison Petrowski, 9 News.
Well, there you go. Travel exemption during a pandemic.
5-star.
Jeez.
You know what? For me personally, so like, not with all the news and stuff, but I've always found him as a. Sorry, Mike. Stop it. Thank you.
Goes to the machine.
Goes to the machine. Yeah. No, without this knowledge now.
Yeah.
I've always found him like he's a very inspirational person. He's very charismatic. I love their worship and their music of the churches and stuff. They're like really good writers. His preaching is always on point. So, up till knowing now what we know now, we can always say he doesn't seem like the kind of person. Everybody has things in their past. Some are good things, some are bad things. What I'm trying to say to you is that, is that for me personally, he has, he's a great speaker. I just think he's done some really good things. He's done some like really good things in the church field, for like millions of people. I mean, it's across the world basically.
Yeah, it's huge. We've got Hills Church here in South Africa.
Yeah, we do, yeah. I went there once. It's a Hillsong Church in Braamfontein.
Okay.
And I went there, and they shut the doors, and lights go down, and then it's like a whole freaking like a build up of like of like a film clip going on, and then the band making noises. I had to leave about 10 seconds later because they used strobe in the dark room.
Jeez, and for you that's
just because I have an old case of epilepsy.
That's a no.
And that was like hell no. But yeah, they are very young-minded. They're very useful. They're very. It'll be interesting to see. Well, not interesting. Yes, it'll be sad, or it'll be, for a better word of interesting.
Yeah.
To see what will happen with him, and what ramifications it might have within the Hillsong community.
Yeah.
Because I mean he is the pastor of Hillsong.
Yeah, and I mean and look at how the organization that Ravi Zacharias headed up, and look at how that gets brought into ill repute and that kind of thing.
And nothing happened to him, obviously.
Yeah.
So this is from what we've researched, and there's also our views involved as well. So it's not just but in general, it's from the proof that is coming through, the evidence coming through. It does sound like he could have brought it to the police before, but he said no, he won't do it because that's the victim's right.
Yeah. And
later on, the victim is saying, no, I didn't actually. When he was asked, whenever it was, this year or whatever, he said, no, that's not what he wanted. Actually, he wanted to bring it to the police, but he was told not to.
Yeah. Now unfortunately, the facts and the law.
It takes time, but if you did do something.
Yeah, and the facts and the law state that if you do not bring this to the authorities, you have committed an offense, and that is unfortunately the reality that now Brian Houston has to deal with.
Yeah.
And so I guess we're gonna watch this, I'm gonna follow this a little bit more closely now.
Yeah.
And see what happens. You might even find us doing a bit of a follow-up episode.
Podcast. Actually, depending on what happens, it's a big possibility.
Yeah, I think either way,
it
would be a good one too.
Yeah. As we
look at,
there was another statement from Brian Houston that there was the name linked to the church. So Mr. Houston has vehemently denied the charges laid against him. And then a statement released after they were laid said they have come as a shock to me given how transparent I've always been about this matter. I vehemently, profess my innocence and will defend these charges, and I welcome the opportunity to set the record straight. The same statement, Hillsong Church said, it was disappointed that Pastor Brian has been charged and asked that he be afforded the presumption of innocence and due process is his right. He has advised us that he will defend this and looks forward to clearing his name. Given that this matter is now before the court, neither Brian Houston, Pastor Brian, or Hillsong, I love how they call him Pastor Brian. His name is Brian Houston. But anyways, I'm just feeling it's a bit like, we know he's a pastor, but if you're going into court, you're not going to be called Pastor Brian Houston. Anyways, that's just my view. Now the Pastor Brian of Hillsong Church will be making further statements. We thank all who are a part of our church for their support and prayers at this time. He is expected to appear in Downing Centre Local Court Tuesday, October the 5th, 2021.
There we go. So we'll wait until then, basically.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll discuss it again in October.
Yeah.
It's sad, though.
It is. Yeah.
But it shows that no matter how big your church is, that if things do happen, they will come out.
Yeah.
And it's just sad. But at the same time, you know what? If you did do something that's against the law, then the law has to take its place.
No one's above the law, Eve. And yeah.
Exactly. Yes.
Cool. I think that's it.
Cool. Yeah, guys, thanks for tuning in, for listening in
yes.
to our podcasting.
This one is definitely looking like another two-parter as well. We've had a long discussion.
Yeah, it's a possibility. But guys, thank you for listening in. It has been a podcast, but stuff that I know that we have been doing a podcast series on human rights and the human rights abusers, but we just felt that this is a big thing happening right now that we needed to address it.
Yeah, I think it's good. It's a very topical, very relevant.
Stay relevant, I think, is a very good thing.
Yeah, it's and with, like I stated, being the Spaghetti Junction podcast, we can do whatever the hell we like. So
if you like us, well, thank you for listening. If not, for some reason our listener levels have gone down, but you know what?
It's okay.
Our listener levels, our listenings, our listenings, giz, part of our group, your listenings. So thank you guys for listening. This has been another episode of Spaghetti Junction Podcast, and my name is Gareth.
My name is Bruce.
And we have talked about things that we still don't know where they're going to go. Have a good one. Looking forward to having a more relaxed episode after this. So keep track of our channel. Subscribe and also put on the notification bells, because that will tell you exactly when we drop the episodes, because they normally come out at the beginning of the week. If there's it's a beginning in the middle, otherwise it's the following week. It sounds very long and mumble jumbled, so that's why I'm doing it. So you just have to push notifications and push the like button as well.
Yes,
because it'll help.
Yes,
and it makes us feel special at the bottom of the line. So we're on 21 episodes, 21 subscribers. And if you're listening to this for the first time, thank you. Hope you were informed and excited by us, and we look forward to seeing you guys next episode.
Cool, and engage with us in the comments.
Yes, please, which a few actually have been doing.
That's awesome.
Which I think is fantastic.
That's great.
Thank you, guys.
Cool. Catch you guys on the next one.
Adios, people.
Cheers, bye.
Bye-bye.